Good afternoon to all the participants to this webinar. Welcome to this introduction into the Kickstart activities of the Architect Promotion Program. I'm Dr. Schubner and I'm representing together with two colleagues of mine, Mr. Jan Bettmann and Mr. Barbara Pascalico, the Integrated Applications Department of the European Space Agency. Please, next slide. Over the next hour, we will give in the first half hour, information about this initiative as such and the specific call that we are asking for proposals here. And the second part, the second half hour, will be open for questions and answers from your side, and we will try to answer all the questions that come up. So, first of all, a few guidelines on how to deal with this webinar. First, please keep your microphones muted at all times. We'll have a lot of time to bring over the communication voice. Basically, then another explanation will also be able to switch off your video notification of the last thing that might influence also on the voice quality. Regarding questions, please use the chat function, which is a button typically on the top right of your screen, where you record your questions. The questions will only be seen by our team, and we will go through all the questions that we receive and address them, reading the question and providing answers to these questions. Next slide, please. So, introduction to the Kickstart activity. This initiative is a new initiative of our department since the beginning of this year to enable companies to undertake short feasibility studies. And this means up to 6 months to explore services and application concepts making use of space capabilities. The Kickstart activities are instruments to assess the viability of an idea. And this means typically not only the technical viability but also the commercial and business viability, as our program is more considered a business development program than a technology development program. And at the end of these activities, sustainable services should be the outcome. Sustainable meaning producing return on investment, creating jobs, leveraging on additional investments and things like this. So, the initiative is particularly attractive for small and medium-sized enterprises and startups, but also is open to any company applying to this system and is foreseen to provide an easy entry into the ESA administrative machinery by opting for a program which is the Integrated Applications Promotion Program. We are committed to rapidly evaluate the activities with a target time of approximately 6 weeks to contract placement, in order also to allow companies to keep the pace in the market and see rapid progress. At the end of the Kickstart activities, we expect typically to see a business plan, but also some information on the technical maturity and feasibility. And our program is there to support the further evolution of these initiatives into the commercial development, meaning that the activities should typically reside also in the preparation of a follow-on demonstration project, which would then be also eligible in our program for co-funding of up to 50%. Next slide, please. So what's in our program? For the first semester, we have 4 calls, of which 2 have already been published. The first one, Auto Tourism, closed on 13th of March. Which was the launch date for the second call, Automated Road Transport. This will be closing on 24th of April. Is the launch date for the population and the Asian population call will close on 29th of May, which then will be the initiation date for the next call on security. We are also preparing now new subjects, new themes for the second semester 2017, and they will be probably published for end May until mid of June. Next slide, please. What do we as the European Space Agency offer? course, here we offer the financial support, and I think there will be a slide following on showing what the financial support is. It's 60,000 euro, which is a co-funding of 75%, so which means the total cost of a Kickstart initiative can be 80,000 euro, of which we fund a maximum of 60,000 euro. But besides the financial support, we offer also technical and business expertise. Of course, the technical expertise is typically related to expertise on space technology, space assets, space-based services, whereas we would expect the technical expertise in the application domain would come from the companies or for any users, customers that are involved. We also provide business expertise because we see that especially for small enterprises and newcomers, this subject is a very difficult one, and therefore we support these companies in preparing business plans and getting on the right track towards the commercial services. Another element that we typically see as very valuable, especially again for small companies, is the ESA branding and promotion, which means that the ESA logo as such as a recognized quality stamp opens the doors to larger players, which typically would be closed for small companies. The last point is the network and partnership building. Of course, this is not necessarily within the Kickstart initiative, but typically towards the end or after, when it comes either to finding partners for a potential demonstration project or in terms of meetings, which we typically coordinate and organize on specific subjects where there's the potential and the possibility to meet other companies in a similar environment. Next slide. So, how does it work, this thematic call? Who can apply? The thematic calls are open to any industry in our participating member states. These are 19, and they are listed here. It's Austria, Belgium, Czech Republic, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Ireland, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Sweden, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. Kickstart activities, as already said, aim at the exploration of the viability, technical and business viability of new service application concepts, and aiming for consolidation user landscape, including derivation of user requirements. So this means that users, customers are an important element of any activity, as the activities like our program should be market-driven, user-customer-driven, but not from a technology point of view, so not technology push. Kickstart activities, as said before, are funding at 75% by the agency for a maximum amount of 60,000 euro. The thematic call for proposals typically follows a competitive tendering procedure, which means we will receive a set of proposals, we will evaluate them and rank them. However, this initiative does not foresee to place only one single contract, but it's expected that several parallel contracts will be launched. There is no fixed number which can be given at that point of time because it largely depends on the quality of the incoming proposal. So which means there's a good chance that really a good number of activities can be placed if the quality is good, if there are topics which are typically not overlapping addressed, and therefore encouraging for a number of companies to apply for this. The evaluation criteria and associated weighting factors are typically published within our tender documents, and here especially in the cover letter of the call for proposal. Next slide. There is one specificity in our program, which is that our member states have the right to, or have the task to authorize activities because they are contributing with their funding, and therefore they are typically asked to support an activity and authorize an activity that are carried out in our framework program. So the availability of funding is an admissibility criterion and proposed not supported at the closing of the thematic call. which in this case would be 29th of May, will not be admitted for evaluation. For each individual team call, a dedicated clarification document will be posted on our electronic tendering system, which is called emits.esa.int, under the announcement of opportunity number that you see there, and provide a list of those member states that have already given their financial support, which means, and you see here the list below, Austria, Germany, Luxembourg, Poland, and the United Kingdom have already given this authorization okay from their side. So companies and proposals from these countries can submit without any further administrative steps. For companies, organizations residing in a country which is not named here, but also on the clarification, so it could be that the clarification will include additional countries. These companies and organizations really need to master their national delegation in order to get typically the individual letters from the delegations that the activity is eligible for our program. The contact points of the national delegations can be found under the given address, which is shown here. It's access-up.esa.int/national-delegations. And there you will find a list of all our member states and the individual contact persons in typically the national state agencies. So the call for proposals, as said already before, is published on our electronic tendering system, EMIT. It includes a cover letter, which typically sets the framework, what this call is about, what funding is available, which countries are involved. Then Appendix 1, the list of thematic calls for proposals, including the calendar, so you have seen this already. Appendix 2, the draft contract. This is a standard contract. There is not the possibility to change any of the included articles. It's a compliance statement, yes or no. Appendix 3, tendering conditions for the procurement process. And Appendix 4, the proposal template. The proposal template is a Word document that you can download and directly insert your input into this document. It's already sort of pre-formatted with a maximum number of 20 pages. Appendix 1, as said before, will be updated once the thematic call on Asian population will be opened, which means on 24th of April there will be an update on this. Next slide. What do you need to do? You have an ESA system, which is called ESA star, which allows the proposal to be shortly. So you don't have to submit the proposal copies. It's a system that allows you to enter the proposal directly into the system and upload it in the electronic. This allows not to miss the deadline immediately from the cover. To get access to the ESA star system, companies have to register beforehand by completing the online questionnaire. And you see here again the website for this registration, which is esastar-emr.sso.esa.int. In case you have problems or don't understand how to fill it, there is also an online information system and a manual which can be downloaded and under the given address here. So the content of the proposal itself will be limited to filling in the cover letter, which is given as a template, as well as the proposal, which is also given as a template and gives all the sections that are expected to be filled. And you will see, especially on the administrative part, that this requires typically only compliance statement to a number of administrative elements. Last point here is what I said before already, that the full compliance to the draft contract is a key acceptance factor. Here we have the elements of the proposal template. In total, we expect not to receive more than 20 pages. An executive summary with a maximum of 1 page, business potential, looking into the business case, the pain that the customers might feel, the service opportunity, and for the service definition. Then the technical concept, introducing shortly what you have in mind in terms of system that might support the delivery of the targeted services, team and resources, asking especially here about the vision of the companies, how does the service that is proposed fit into the program and the priorities of the company. Management part, which is typically a number of compliance statements towards planning schedule, work packages, payment profile, and things like this, and the financial part. Next slide. Yeah, and with this I hand over to my colleague Jan Detman, who will explain now the specificities, especially of this thematic role and aging population.
Thank you, Norbert. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jan Detman, also from the same department, Integrated Application Promotion program of the agency. Some details on the kickstart activities on aging population. We are looking for proposals which are addressing the challenge of aging population and utilizing space assets. As we are a European Space Agency, we are looking at utilizing our space assets. There are several points to be considered for aging population, and I'm going on this for the next slide. The ratio of working to non-working or already retired people is shifting from 4:1 today to 2:1 by 2060, which is a big shift. The government spending is increasing by almost 20%. Over a long period of time, but it's significant. By 2020, Europe will face up to 2 million vacancies in health and social care, and the 65-pluses Europeans have a huge spending capacity of 3 trillion euros. The aging in good health allows us to do all kinds of things which are also quite new for the aging population: travel, to e-learning, or to work longer and live independently much longer. Next slide. We have here a couple of application examples, which are, for example, healthcare, which includes mobile health, remote monitoring of health parameters for prevention, wearables. The second subject is independent living for smart homes, home automation, lifestyle intervention, remote workplaces, and personal assistance. Then, of course, safety and security includes surveillance, emergency response, extreme weather, pollution alerts, and others. And as I said before, social later in education, remote education, remote occupation, entertainment, and outdoor activities, mobilities. These are just some examples where we see a good potential for involving space essence into the everyday life for the aging population to support independent living and so on. All other ideas can be considered and will be considered and will be very much appreciated. Okay, so we are talking about space assets. We call them connected from space. That is satellite communication, connectivity, for example, for smart homes, smart wearables, or Internet of Things for health monitoring, home, services related to travel, safety, and social activities, satellite navigation, everybody knows, auto navigation, mobility support, and extended capabilities of smart wearables in navigation and travel, Earth observation for weather and environmental monitoring, in particular, because we are relevant to these dialogues, vulnerability and risk reduction, but also human-based technology for augmented reality, for example, advanced robotics, sensors for medical monitoring, diagnostics, and telemedicine and health. This concludes my short introduction in the aging population subject. We would be open for question and answers. Please direct your questions via the chat function tool.
So, for the participants that are participating, this is now really the chance to ask questions about the call itself, about any procedures, about the elements that we expect to see here. Feel free to ask the questions and we will answer them.
Questions?
The first question is asked if the slides of this introduction will be made available for download. Definitely we will provide the slides as downloadable PDF to all the participants of this webinar. Any other questions? There's a question asking for the maximum time for realization of project in this section. I'm not sure if I understand the question correctly, but as said before, the idea is that the activity will run for a maximum, this small activity for a maximum of 6 months, so which means that also companies proposing a shorter time frame, this is definitely acceptable within the cost framework, and the idea is really to have business case investigation at the end to a more decision if we make sense for the and in this case the industry, the customers that might be contracted during the activity or should be contracted, the national delegations, and of course the others. If the question is about realization of a follow-on activity, this depends on the complexity of the subject, and we have demonstration projects that run between 1 year and 3 years, depending on the type of application domains. Then, there are a number of questions related to, can consortia including multinational submit such is typically not here for or ATK costs much for this, but in principle, consortia can be proposed, and some multinational consortia with a complexity. So far, we haven't seen that multinational consortia. The idea is that the team should be geared towards the business case and what makes sense. So you have to consider yourself if you need partners, but then if yes, then we can of course cope with it. Can consortium be led by a university? That's an interesting question. Typically what we see is that universities are not necessarily geared towards implementing of commercial services. Therefore, we would prefer to see companies in the lead, but for this initiative, also universities can leading an activity. Second question, what costs are eligible? In particular, are personnel and equipment acquisition eligible? Typically, all costs that are necessary to carry out an activity are eligible. When it comes to procurement of large items, then of course we have to consider if it makes sense rather to apply amortization rates rather than the procurement cost. In general, all costs that are necessary to carry out an activity are eligible. So if you have to rent a car to maybe prove something, then the car rental is in there. If you need an external service that gives you consultancy on business case aspects, then this is eligible. Personal costs that you encounter in your activities during the execution, all this is eligible. What deliverables are expected by the end of the work program? At the end of the work program, we would like to see a business plan, more or less. But of course, it depends on the complexity of the subject as well, together with concept of the system that would need to be required to implement this service. Are there any mandatory post-kickstart activities, including applying to follow-up funding, market entry, etc.? What is kickstart activities? The question is not completely clear. Mandatory after these kickstart activities, no, there is no mandatory scheme. But of course, the companies identify for themselves that what they have investigated is an interesting market, and they would continue with the development of the services and testing the services with the customers, then they are welcome to join into our program. Maybe one comment on this. Of course, if we see in a proposal that this is only there to do some academic research but has not an initial intention to follow this up, then this will be marked down, because the idea is really in the end effect to aim for the development of sustainable services. Of course, there can always be issues along the route that the market collapses or that competitors take over or things like this. This is clear. But in principle, there should be a clear intention really to aim for the services, and that's why we ask the question, how do the proposed service or services fit into the vision and the portfolio of the applying companies or organizations? Next question is, which is the expected degree of involvement of the users in the project proposal? Here I would like first to say, we clearly separate between users and customers. Preferably, we would like to see customers within the proposals. Customers mean for us organizations that are willing to pay for the services that shall be the outcome of the final goal. Users can be paying customers but do not necessarily have to pay. So it can be that an organization, for example, a city is buying a service and offers it then to its citizens, and the citizens don't have to pay. So the users would be the citizens, but the customer would be the city. So definitely we have a need and a request to have customers on board of the activity at some point of time. Otherwise, it's not possible to derive customer requirements for the target services. And this is one of the aspects that needs to be investigated. Next question. Do you have limit of participants in one project? All participants should be mentioned in submitted documents. Yes, please mention all the participants within the document, but be aware that the amount, the total cost of 80k or the funding of 60k is limited funding, and it should be in relation to the complexity of the team setup. What we typically recommend is to focus on the basic consortium know-how that is required to answer at this point of time the questions of business plan, technical feasibility. It's not expected that in the activities, in the kickstart activities, lots of developments will be done. This is reserved for a potential follow-on demonstration project. The important part is about business development and understanding if there's a business out there for services that integrate space-based services. Next question. Provided the kickstart activities were successful, will there be any opportunities to also apply for funding for larger scale follow-up projects? This is a definite yes. So for activities, typically at the end of the Kickstart initiative, we organize presentation days where we also invite the national delegations, and this is the chance to present to all stakeholders the next step, the follow-on route, and we offer within our program the possibility to apply for a demonstration project with a funding level up to 50%. Since beginning of this year, we also have the possibility of funding up to 75%. However, the decision, especially for SME, the decision on the funding is left to the national delegation. So there's no obligation for the delegate to support 75%, but 50% is the rule in our program. And about the maximum amount that is available, this is something that needs to be discussed with the national delegation and depends, of course, also on the overall budget that are available per country. Next question. What is your expectation regarding the final result? Do you expect implementation of proposals but just to see the services? So again, interpretation, we expect at the end of the feasibility study enough information, sufficiently detailed to come to an informed decision as if we would be investors or, let's say, business angels. Then the follow-on activity would be a demonstration project, can be 1 to 3 years, with an actual pilot implementation at a concrete customer. And following this demonstration project, the idea would be to have at the end of the demonstration project the first customer signed up. And then, of course, further roll out into the market. These are our expectations. And also our delegates provide their budget to our program because they would like to see economic and social benefits for their country and their industry. This is typically, as I said before already, job creation, revenue creation, export, but also soft factors like social aspects. It is necessary to provide letters of endorsement of customers, users to the proposal. In our, let's say, typical tenders or in demonstration projects, we insist that we have these letters in advance, but here for the Kickstart initiative, it's not required to have these risk proposals, but it's necessary to clearly identify in the proposal which organizations will participate or provide their input from a customer's point of view. If there are letters provided from these users or customers, it's a plus in the evaluation. Next question, do you have a thematic report from progress of work? Indeed, in this initiative, the overall administration of data work for minimum, which means that we will require one final report at the end of the activity, and in between we will have one review, which we call midterm review, which will be based mainly on a PowerPoint presentation where there's a possibility to discuss with the consortium or with the proposing team the progress of the activity and also any exchange information and further guide the team towards this final element. So we will have in principle 3 basic steps. It's the kickoff, which will be done typically also by telephone remotely, not with a meeting at ESTEC or ESA, at ESA premises. A midterm review, which will be done video conferencing, like a webinar here now with exchange of presentation slides, and the final review where we expect the final report including business-related information and also information related to the technical feasibility. So I think this was so far the last question that I have here. I don't know if all of the answers have been clear so far, or if there are any other questions. Okay, I got the information back from some already that the answers have been clear. So, we are still here for answering questions. All clear, thank you. So that's good to hear that it's been clear enough. Yeah, we need the final report. That's the question. If there is the only delivery is a final report. Yeah, that's right. And after every step, another one. It's not clear what that here means. If the one that answers question can you please provide information what every step meant. For information, although these Kickstart initiatives are meant to introduce companies into the process of ESA. So which means also there will be a smooth transition from this activity into any follow-on activity. And this will be guided within the initiative during this midterm review, but also the final review, to give information on the companies, directing them directly from the very beginning. So every activity that in the end will receive support and will get a contract will have also a technical officer assigned from ESA, which is there as a counterpart to address questions or to guide the companies into the right direction. Meanwhile, the question on the every step has been further refined. The report necessary after every main step. The only main step in this Kickstart initiative is the final review. The midterm review is there to discuss on this activity, exchange information and guide towards the final result. So there is no report required at the midterm review. Only one at the final review. Okay. So, I think we have seen so far questions from a few people participating. So, I guess then that all the other participants got a clear picture or image from what we are expecting. It also provides feedback if you don't have any further questions, so that we see participants Maybe a question to my colleague Jan Detman. Is there anything from your side that you would see necessary to be mentioned?
I think we mentioned everything we wanted to know. Thank you.
Maybe there's one more thing. In case you have questions during the opening period of this call, we are normally in a competitive tendering mode. We are not allowed to give during the opening period response or answers to any questions related to the technical or business side. Nevertheless, if you have questions, you are asked to address questions to the contract officer in charge of this initiative, and the contract is mentioned in the cover letter of the tender, and typically up to, I think, 2 weeks or 3 weeks before closing, which would then be something like mid-May. You can ask questions, and then the questions will be published in an anonymized form, together with the answers from us. And in this case, in EMIS. In this way, everybody who has an interest in the activity gets the same information and it's equally distributed. There's another question coming up. Do you expect rather small business companies or bigger ones? That's completely up to the bidders. What we can see is that bigger companies typically have more difficult internal decision processes. Therefore, we would expect small companies are more attractive to the scheme than bigger companies. But we don't exclude anyone at this stage. So, one more about serious project, and I assume this refers to a follow-up demonstration project. Maximum is 3 years. Let's start from the business side. Typically, we expect that the services enter into the market. Therefore, already a period of 4 to 5 years is considered quite a long period to get a product into the market. And the shorter this can be held, the more, let's say, attractive or successful a product is probably in the market. Because within 3 to 5 years, a market can change significantly. So therefore, everyone that aims for a demonstration project beyond 3 years has to face the question if this product is really something that the market is still interested in. And therefore, you see, the 6 months is a very short, is in our opinion, a short period to investigate the business case, the follow-on activities, depending on the domain. I said it's up to 3 years, and we see the 3 years activities typically in the agricultural domain, where we have to cover at least 1, often 2 growing periods, which extends then the pilot demonstration over 2 years. Typically, we see that developments are done within 1 year, and then it depends on the domain how much time is needed to carry out a useful demonstration pilot. And this is, I would say, in other domains than agriculture, something between 3 and 6 months. So therefore, I would assume in the aging population subject demonstration projects really not exceeding 2 years. Okay. What do you mean that project is on the market? The aim of the activities is to go for commercial services or institutional services, depends. Which means at some point of time they have to appear on the market as products and services which can be bought by the customer. And another question, for past experience, can you provide any information about the percent of applications funded both in the Kickstart subsequent demonstration phase? I can only tell you that on the subsequent demonstration in the demonstration phase we are in a direct negotiation mode, not in a competitive tender, which means we typically collaborate closely with the proposers to make things work. So which means already at the end of the Kickstart activity, there will be a clear feedback if we see a future in this within our program or not. If we do see a future, then we actively will work on a face-to-face or interactive mode to bring the activity forward into fruition. Regarding the percentage of applications funded, as I said, it really depends on the quality of the proposal. So it can be 10%, 20%, can also be 50% of the applicants. It depends on the quality of the proposal. We don't have a fixed number that we are bound to. Again, a question on the market. Is it meant that we show the client? Yes. In the demonstration project, the pilot demonstration is in the real environment of the customer, of a potential customer. So the demonstration project is also a chance to get acquainted with a potential customer, to make them familiar with the product, with the service, with the outputs, shape the product outputs towards the expectations of this customer, and hopefully engage him or her as the first client, paying client in the end. If there is, let's say, a need for demonstrating this within the Kickstart activities, it really depends on the companies. What we see typically from feasibility studies, proof of concepts are very welcome, both by the companies, also by the customers involved, because this is the first hands-on experience where people then see, this is what the service could look like, and I like it, or no, I had imagined something completely different. So it's a hands-on approach to get real feedback from the potential customers. So it's up to the bidding companies if they intend to include this type of mock-up proof of concept with the customers or not. And it also depends, of course, on the cost framework if this can be included in such an activity or not. It's definitely helpful to have such a feedback loop with the customers, but we recognize also the limitations in terms of budget that we make available in this Kickstart initiative. Another question here about project for 2 years, meaning that the primary rate is for up to 2 years. The Kickstart activity runs for a maximum of 6 months, and the final report has to be delivered at the end of the Kickstart initiative. Full stop. The demonstration project is then a separate game, and then again different requirements, which are more demanding than for the Kickstart initiative, because also in the end we have to make sure that what is proposed as a service has a certain quality, reliability, availability, and therefore there are more elements required than in a Kickstart initiative activity.
Maybe I can add something to it. Somebody seems to be really interested in the demonstration project, which is appreciated. You don't need to go through a Kickstart activities. We have an open call where you can directly insert your proposals for a demonstration project if this seems better for you.
So besides this initiative, which is there to introduce organizations into our systems, we have a continuous open call for proposals for larger feasibility studies, but also for demonstration projects, which works on a co-funded basis of 50% for SMEs up to 75%, but with the restriction that this is subject for approval by the national delegations. And the companies at any point of time can come up with an idea for a service that integrates space-based assets. And the member states are the same as shown in this presentation. 19 member states for our program. So I don't see any further questions at this point of time. So then I would suggest there are no further questions, that we can close the call. Let's do one more question. Is a national support letter needed? As said on one of the slides, not for the countries that have already pre-authorized, which are Austria, Germany, Luxembourg, Poland, and the United Kingdom. For all the others, such a national support letter is required, and therefore it's highly recommended to contact the national delegations as soon as possible in order to avoid waste of effort in case that it's not supported from the delegation. And typically you will receive already within a very short time an information if delegations are interested to support this call or not. Good. I don't see now any further questions, and then I could just conclude the webinar at this point of time. The presentation will be made available to the participants. Effectively, the participants will get information that the presentation can be downloaded from the website. And of course, we hope the many applications under this subject, and wish you success for preparation of the next learning session. Thank you very much for your time, and have a nice afternoon. Goodbye.